So let's hop right into the flight deck. Oh, why are we looking down there? So the first thing you want to do is, I've already just quickly done this just to see what happened. You want to turn on your battery masters. So what you do is, with the CRJ, tend to use your roller key because I find it's just easier. The clicking isn't necessarily the best. So using the roller key, roll it to the on position, and you'll see the whole aircraft fires up. We get these screens coming on. This one, a couple of basic stuff, and you'll see we've got all these warnings here. They will all be cancelled as we progress. Next thing I'm going to do is just click on the screen of the iPad, and it turns on. And what you've then done is we're all on. We're on, but what we need to be careful about is the fact that we're running off the battery. So if you hit Control P, the DC service, otherwise known as the electrical truck, comes over. And then what we do is click DC service on here, put that into the on position. That's now on. We wait for this truck to get over nice and close. And the AC, this will say avail. We see the truck's ready now, so if we go in the flight deck. Okay, hold on. I should be saying avail. I find sometimes if you don't, what you can do is do it through the iPad. So where it says removed, just click on it. It'll say connected, overhead, and there you go. The AC will say avail. You click on it, it's now in use, and boom, the whole aircraft is now online. We can hear some stuff booting up, fans and everything coming on. And the next thing we want to do is, looking at our overhead panel here, we want to turn our fuel pumps to on. You then want to do your air conditioning to fault. That's okay for now. Turn that on. Turn your anti-ices on. Oh, actually, sorry. Yeah, turn them on. Now, this is going to be a little bit early. This is what I do for now. It's alright. Next thing you want to do is set your ADIRs to align. And then you just get some lights going on. You can turn up the integral lights, which are on the floor panel here. We could turn up the side lights, but let's do them from the captain's side. That's here. You just roll this wheel. And if we look overhead again, we'll get the dome lights on, which are here. Flick them down like that. We'll get some nice integral lights on the overhead. We'll get the emergency lights on, and seatbelts and smoking to auto. We'll make sure our hydraulics go to auto so they're pressurized when ready. We'll turn our beacon, logo, and nav lights on. And the aircraft's now ready for FMS programming. So if we just open up SimBrief, we can see I've generated a flight plan today from Southend to Dublin. Routing in here, we've got the routing here. It's got the fuel we're going to need, it's got the ZFW there. So if I just hold this here, heading back into the iPad, we can see our ZFW for today is 27443. So if we head over to performance, change to 0 fuel weight, and here in the ZFW, hit the back arrow to get rid of it, and type 27443. Make sure to hit enter. Then click on the fuel. If we just have a quick look again, our fuel for today was 3584. So I'll just put that there. Oh, sorry, back arrows first. 3584. Hit enter. Boom. We've now got. We can see. We've got. We'll probably go for. I'll talk to you about this in a minute. But if we just have a look here, hit set payload in simulator. The aircraft now weighs this, and that's all you need to do for now. Heading down to the FMS. This FMS is mainly a Boeing FMS compared to an Airbus, so it's very different to the 320. And the first thing you want to do is, if we see, you'll be greeted with this kind of a page. Go to POS init. It's the first place you want to go. Type in your ICAO code of the airport we're starting at. So today we're at Southend, Echo Golf Mike Charlie. Take this, once you put it in, and put this into your set POS. So the aircraft will now align the ADIRs depending on that. You can see they've already done it in mine, but that's the idea. Next thing you want to do is head to flight plan, of course. So our origin for today is Echo Golf Mike Charlie. Our destination is Dublin. So Echo India Delta Whiskey. If we just drag up SimBrief again, we can see our alternate here is Manchester. So we just put that in. So our origin runway for today, we're going to be starting from runway 5. So we just hit that. Oh, okay. You can tell I haven't done this in a while. So you want to hit execute on that. The flight plan will now go in. Next thing you want to do is hit next page. And we can now see we've got the first bit of our routing. So the first waypoint we're going to hit, excluding the SID, is we're heading direct to Evnas waypoint. So if we just type that in here, we go Evnas. On the right, there we go. Our next waypoint, I believe, was Lambourne. Yep, LAM. That goes in there. If you can see on the navigation display up in the top left here, we've got Evnas and Lambourne both going in on the route. Then we take the L10 to Bravo Papa Kilo. So we just type that in. There we go, that's in. Next waypoint's gone in, and the airway there. We then go direct to Hen, and then CPT. So put that in here, and then CPT underneath it. There we go, hit execute on that for now. But then we've run out of space here. So just looking at our next waypoint, we've got the UL9 to Kennet. So what you want to do is hit next page, and there we go, we've got another page of flight plan. So into UL9 to Kennet. Kennet, there we go, on the right. There we go, that's gone in. After Kennet, we take the November 14 to Medog. On the left. Now I go to Medog. I just type that in. On the right. And that waypoint's now in. Take the L18 to Albin. On the left. Albin. On the right. Oh, why did I spell that wrong? Let's have a look. A-B-L-I-N. There we go. A-B-L-I-N. It goes on the right there. Albin. And now we just hit execute. So now our flight plan, if we have a look on the system here, by zooming in and out here, we can see that all the routes in, all the waypoints are in. Looking great. So now we click performance in it, and we can see here nothing's filled in. Now if you want to be really detailed, you can fill this in yourself. However, if we click copy perf init data to FMS, all the weights we just put in are now copied immediately into here. The only thing we need to do is put in our cruise altitude, which SimBrief has told us, if we just look at our cruising altitude here, flight level 340. So in this aircraft, you do need to type FL 340 and like the 320 into the right there. Execute, we go next page, we've got our performance in it, doing the flight. Exit performance in it, just check over these, make sure you're happy with them. Then go to your VNAV setup. Transition altitude here is 6,000. Put that in the right. Execute. Next page. Cruise 340. Now our transition arrival on altitude is also 6,000. So we just put that in there. And hit execute. So that is now ready to go, flight plan wise. The only thing we haven't done is our departure and arrival. So we're departing from runway 05. We just execute on that. Back to the index. We're arriving, if we head check on here, runway 10. So you hit the next page to shuffle through. You can see there, ILS 10 right, hit there. I don't think we had a SID. Nope, we don't. We just go direct into the runway. ILS, so we just hit execute there. And that's now good to go. We can head back to our index. So this is just quite a basic tutorial on that. There's more detailed ones if you want, but for now that is as simple as it needs to be. What we now want to do is basically we're going to clear out all these messages. So IV spoilerons, Mac trim and stable trim. So if we have a look down here, we've got our Mac trim in the center pedestal here. So if you click, hold this down for a couple of seconds and let go. Normally that does get extinguished. I found it doesn't, so I have to do it again. Sometimes it still doesn't disappear. With stable trim in your damper, just click the two buttons there and there, and you can see those messages have now been disappeared. The only one that hasn't is Mac trim. There we go, that's now gone. So, The aircraft is pretty much started up. What we do want to now get going is our APU. So the first thing we do is click this button here, and we can see on our FMS nothing's happening. If we click here, we can see that is very strange. So I found the problem. I'd already clicked this button. So all we want to do is once you click this and you see APU invite, that will then disappear and you'll see APU SOV open. Hit your start, and you'll then see the APU begins to start up. So if we just hit here, we can see it goes APU start, the APU invite SOV open comes up, and the APU, if we look at our APU gauge here, is now booting itself up. Heading back to the iPad now on the left, we can see we've got our V1 speeds in. Now they're quite high in this aircraft, so in a short runway like today, you could use flap 20, but it's got a lot of power, this aircraft, so we'll leave it as it is on flap 8, and we'll just hit settle. There we go. So our V1 and VR speeds have now been set onto the navigation display here. The aircraft continues to start up, and we want to begin to look at our autopilot setup. So the first thing we want to do, and the first thing you need to know, is that the CRJ does not have auto throttle. For the whole flight, you must do it yourself. So what we first want to do is we want to click nav and speed. So navigation is just as it would be in the A320. The aircraft will follow the pre-planned route. Speed, you just want to dial this up to whatever your first speed limit is, which for us today is 250. There we go, 250 set. We now want to just hit our heading bug, push to sync, so our heading is now set up and synced with the aircraft's current heading. We can hear there in the background the engines are now starting up, and the APU has started up. So that, what we now want to do is make sure our beacon is on, which it already was. Make sure everything is good and we're happy. Then what we're going to do, we can see IB spoilerons, OB brake pressure. For now, you can ignore them, as when we get the engines running, they will all go. If you want some actual detailed checklist, if you hit checklist here, we can see orientating. I have memorized this process, which is roughly what we've done, so I just used the before start. So what you want to do is go through, and you can see we've set our IRS, takeoff briefing, and we can check in a bit, but for now that's alright. Our APU's on, the doors are closed, the beacon is on, the fuel pumps are set, hydraulic pumps are on, and the parking brake is on, which is here. So the next thing we want to do is we want to arm the reverse thrusters. So we hit there, and they're now armed. The reverse thrusters are armed, and I guess we now want to call for pushback. So if we head to the ACT panel, today I'm actually not using pushback helper. I'm going to be using the normal push. So, pushback accepted, truck comes over. Whilst this is coming over, because the engines on the CRJ are up high in the back, we want to remove the chocks and get the engine started. So we head to our aircraft tab, and we head to wheel chocks, and we just click removed, and they're now removed. Apologies there, had a slight issue. So the chocks are now removed, the tug is on station, the tug is ready to go back, it will connect in a minute, and we're going back. So we want to release our parking brake, and we now want to get engine 1 and 2 starting up. And then the CRJ, this is a very simple process. All we do is hit start on the 1, and now that is immediately starting the engine. We see the pressure of everything that's coming up, and the engine number 1 is now starting. I'm not quite sure why we're going so slowly. There we go, right, rolling. Now it has a very slow turning, so we want to immediately start our turn. I've actually gone the wrong way there. I need to go left. There we go. So the plane's now turning left. But very slowly in the CRJ, so you want to make sure you want to do your turn very early. So the engine's starting here. We can see 2.7%. It's currently just holding at 2.7%. And that will boost up in a minute once the engine begins to kick in. So what you want to do is make sure you've disconnected, which we have. Our fuel pumps are on. And you just can check everything is ready to go. Now the engines actually won't get any further than this. Now that's because we have not actually given fuel flow to the engines. So I just press pushback to stop here. What you want to do in the CRJ is hit this sort of flick, which moves the red key up, and then just push the throttles forward to this sort of position here. And with your throttles, make sure you idle them again. Do the same for both. And you can see now the throttles are in the idle position rather than the shut off. You can now hear the engines are spooling up. And what you now want to do is make sure you set your TCAS to 1. If you don't do this, if we have a look here, you can see it remains on standby and the ATC cannot see your sport code. Hello, so we've just finished getting the engine number 1 going. I've just noticed that's died quickly. So if we just do the starter again, there we go, that's booting up. So we let the engine boot up, and whilst it's booting up, we can make sure everything is all good on the aircraft. I notice this happens when I go to the menu. If we just make sure the flaps and everything are up. So we just have a look through the final warning messages. We see IB spoiler-ons. Now, if anyone knows what that means, please let me know in the comments section, as I actually do not know. I'd very much like to know, so please do let me know if you do know. What you do is you set your QNH today. It's 1013 actually. There we go. Engine number 2 starting up. We have gone onto the grass somewhat. I've noticed that, so we just close them down. Anyway, we'll get our taxi lights on. What we'll then do is we'll turn the HUD down. Right, so there we go, we've got our HUD. We can change the brightness of the HUD here. And that's about the extent of that. So there we go, this engine is pretty much running. About 25% is the idle, depending on where you are, but it's roughly. So we've got to make sure our anti-ices are on. It's just beginning to tell me there. You can see they are all on, so hopefully that warning will go away in a minute. There we go, engine's alive. We can get the next engine started, which is the left engine. There we go. If you just hit start on that. Okay, that doesn't want to start. Maybe it's still starting this one. Give it a minute. Okay, so there we go. You'd hit start, and the engine starts revving up. Whilst that's happening, all we want to do is just make sure this is set to on. Make sure this is on 1, and you're pretty much good to go. There we go. That engine has started up now. All we want to do is set our altitude up. So if we just dial that, we want to climb to 6,000 first. We'll just set that in our altitude marker here. You can see the engine is starting up. A couple more warnings appeared, and they should all disappear quite quickly. And what we want to do is arm our NWS CRJ, which is the nose wheel steering gear. We can go to our after start checklist and we can just check everything is good. And we can set our flaps. So for today we're going flaps 8 takeoff. So we just drag this down to whatever. Flaps 8, there we go. Flaps 8 is set. Flaps are dropping. And we're now good to go. Both engines have now started, I believe. Yep. So we can turn off the APU by just hitting that button there. APU is now off. Next thing we want to do is get our packs on, they're already on. We're good to go for our taxi. So if we do a flight control check, which we can check the flight control page by hitting there, this button here. Flight control, so we go full right, so you can see them moving, full left, full up, and full down. So we're now ready to taxi, and we're good to go. I'll be doing another video shortly, guys. Hope you enjoyed this one. I'll be doing another one, as I said, on the rest of the startup days of the CRJ. Apologies for the couple of odd bits, as I say, it's been a while since I've done this, but hopefully we'll have a bit of fun on a stream in the near future. Thanks very much, and hopefully see you around soon. Bye!